Hello everybody, you may wonder why is he wearing black? My sewing machine. Probably is that. That's why I want to start this video with 1 minute of silence.
Well, maybe I explain what we're gonna do in between. I realized a minute is a bit long for a YouTube video. Today we'll try 3 different hacks that you can use either alone or together to upcycle knitwear. And the cool thing, if you have no serger or sewing machine, you can still do 2 out of 3 of these DIY fashion hacks.
Okay, anyway. There's like a clothing donation bin here in the area, and for some reason it doesn't get emptied, so you can pick and choose whatever you want. And I found this white cotton jumper. I think it's 100% cotton, which I thought in this economy is already something. I thought maybe this has to stay virgin and sort of my basic that I desperately need in my wardrobe. Then I put it on and it's sort of like, nope. It could give more. It's just so millennial, which I am. I don't know. I have a strong urge that I should probably explore in therapy, but to add some decorative seams on the outside of this sleeve.
I'm gonna search. You could also do this on a sewing machine with a zigzag stitch. This is a knitted sweater, so you may wonder. So we have a bit of an advantage here. So we can keep our decorative stitching super simple by using the ribbing of the sweater as our guideline. But first things first, I wanted to get this collar off to make it a little easier. To be honest, I thought the collar would be sort of integrated in the knitwear, just like these cuffs. But upon closer inspection, turns out it's just sewn on. So you can quite easily just remove it with your seam ripper. If you're too scared to take it off and ruin the jumper or get some lettering, you can also leave it on. Potentially. However, the collar is rather thick. I would not recommend sewing over it when it's folded double. And if I say that, that means something. I've been sewing over bricks since I was born. But we're bettering ourselves.
Trying to pull it somewhat carefully.
Somewhat, who am I kidding? I was ripping rather recklessly here, as the collar was quite discolored, so I didn't want to really reuse it, but otherwise you might want to be a little more careful to not overstretch it.
I don't know, maybe you can keep this as a little test piece. This is so costly. But must be a bit careful not pulling the fabric, otherwise we're gonna cause some accidental letters, maybe.
My sleeve was already sort of naturally folded in as what looked like the exact middle. Otherwise I'd put the jumper on to decide the middle of the arm and mark the right ribbing, placing a few pins so I don't get confused while sewing and end up on the wrong landing lane.
The blade is actually a little bit not so sharp anymore. I always pin so nicely, but then I missed the pin and I've been sewing through it. Probably you can just order one online in 2 minutes, but guess what? It's already taking me 2 years. It looks a little bit like jaggedy. It's not cutting that smooth anymore. If you know, you know. If you don't know, you probably have a great serger blade.
The solution is not to use the blade at all. Better anyway, you want to change the shape of the sleeve as little as possible. So likely there should be some kind of marking, or even just a dent, a little more inward than you might sew regularly, to ensure you're sewing straight and not cutting anything off. But then it should be pretty straightforward. Quite literally, straightforward. That is, unless you're me. And you have to thread breaking a couple of times. Unexplicable mystery. I cannot see anything wrong with my serger setup. Anyone? Don't ask. I'm not gonna undo it. I'm just gonna live on the edge and sew over it again. Trying to stay on one ribbing as much as possible. All the way from the neck to the cuff. And even if it's not 100% perfect, it will still look pretty good. Thank God.
Absolutely flabbergasting. Do you see it?
Groundbreaking.
Modern touch. Subtle, classy, sexy. Let's continue.
You can see that part of the seams got a little bit wobbly, also called leather seams, which can be a look but was not really what I was going for today. So here are some hot tips. It took me a couple of years to find out, even though it's written in all caps on the machine. But yes, the differential feet should surely not leave you indifferent. It's this slider or a dial on the side of the machine that in short dictates how quickly the feed dogs are moving in relation to each other. Note it's feed dog with a D, so we're talking about the things on the bottom, not to be confused with the sewing foot, or am I the only one? Depending on on the setting, you can either slightly stretch out or compress the fabric. Strategically used can help you avoid curling seams. All you really have to remember is that if your seams are wavy and they look a little bit stretched out, it likely needs to be compressed a little bit more. Changing the setting upwards will most probably allow you to fix it. 1 is neutral, everything above 1 will compress slightly. And of course make sure to not pull or stretch the fabric with your hands whilst sewing. Well, if that in theory would not be a great reason to subscribe, right? Hint, hint, do it now. It will save you years of looking for the differential feed function.
It's kind of like when I want them, I don't get them. When I don't want letter C, start to be letter C.
Now we can do the exact same on the body, picking a ribbing and sewing over it.
Many minutes later.
If you have a serger and know how to sew a straight seam, I feel like you can achieve this very easily. I cannot visualize it without seeing it, you know what I mean? Maybe this video is gonna be a little bit boring. This is actually quite a cool sort of shape. Oh, it's filming. For God's sake, I don't know how to make a picture with my camera. Something like this. The vision is visionizing, visionary. However, I feel like maybe we can still add a seam here. There's a little bit of a drape here. Maybe we don't even have to go over the shoulder then. If we just stop there, right at that sort of shoulder point, I'm just gonna try to draw it on.
This time I'm just gonna sew off the fabric at the point where the sleeve starts, which was this sort of rotation point where this drape occurred anyway. You could sew over the shoulder to the other side, but I wasn't 100% convinced, as this will technically change the top of the sleeve, and in the worst case might influence how it falls. I don't know, it just made sense in my mind to do it like this. Do not forget though, each seam will get about a centimeter out, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you add 4 seams, it does add up. You can always pin it in first if you're scared it might get too small. Next up, I'm not really sure why I am looking so confused. I swear, I'm an expert at this.
Needlefelting.
Done it one time.
In case you didn't know, these are the barbed needles.
And those you can use to turn wool into anything you want. Although I would maybe not start with a bumblebee. Oh sorry, it was a Pikachu. Allegedly. But don't worry, today we'll keep it easy.
So I have needlefelted with synthetic yarns. For the best results, I would definitely pick a wool. It's a yarn that is very loosely twisted. And then there's this sort of mat put underneath.
The biggest challenge really is not the needlefelting itself, but to decide what kind of shape or pattern I wanted. Something with a graphic line from body to sleeve. But it wouldn't be me if there wasn't like a little touch of go with the flow in between. I'm just gonna start right in the middle of those 2 seams. And hallelujah, we have our guidelines, aka ribbing. So making a straight line shouldn't be too much of a problem, yeah? And then just poke, poke, poke. Like your ex is watching. Or better said, poke like you're practicing voodoo on your ex. Oh, come on. Don't tell me you haven't tried that yet. The end is a bit longer, so I can tuck it in on the inside. Then I'm also gonna felt a little bit on the inside, because I think the needles only work in one direction. But you have to be a bit careful so that you don't see it on the outside. So only needle felt it where the yarn is placed.
Okay, so I actually think you can sort of needle it on there really lightly at first to make sure you really like it, and then go in a bit more intense when you are sure about the pattern.
Keep it on for now.
You cannot do this if you have a cat, because all these loose ends you will get attacked for sure.
It's like half pinned and half needle felted now. I just put it on to see if I'm on the right track, and I was glad I did.
I don't know guys, this is why you put it on, I guess. It looks so different than when it's flat. That does make it more interesting than just a straight line, or? I should stay a little bit away from the middle here, because I want it to look to... Oh my god, you can't talk today. So I don't want to go too far up the arm, because then when you look from the front, part of it falls away, and that's sort of a shame. I will edit it well, but I'm talking very slow today. I think I'm just gonna put some pins, like, okay, this height on the shoulder, not further out more than here. That's the most important.
When you see some fuzz appear on the inside, you know, it's time to wash your clothes. That might be a mold infestation, no, I'm kidding. It means it's working.
Rediscovered again what the different sizes of needles are. This is not the length, but it's the thickness. So the L ones are really thick. They go in a little bit harder. I still keep finding mirrors everywhere from my last project.
Nobody watched.
I mean, the fun thing is everyone can do this even without sewing. You can still needle felt a nice pattern on a jumper. So it's a really easy way to upcycle clothes. So then I have some markings of which I don't want to go outside. And then I can still try to improvise sort of a nice shape as I go. For some reason it's really hard to pin it exactly how you want. It does not stay that well put, or well, I might not have had the patience for it. But if you don't go too hard straight away, you're still quite flexible to change it around a little bit. Did I spend almost a day adding some decorative seams and a little bit of needlefelting kinda. I feel like once you are in the mood to make some decisions, it doesn't have to take that long. Although I will say this is the first time I'm actually doing this on knitwear. Already realized you have to go in a little bit more aggressively. It's not so tight as a woven fabric underneath. It might loosen a little more quickly if you don't properly needle felt it. I might have spent a little bit too much time very long on the first part, but now I was just going. Bye bye self-doubt. Hello inner artist who knows what they want. Hyperfocus, flow state, synergy. But above all, I had to get my ass moving if I ever wanted to get this finished. So the concept I came up with was like to go back up on the back of the sleeve and make my way all the way to the other side of the jumper, basically. Like one continuous storyline. Did I already tell you the needles are sharp?
Surprise, surprise!
Needles flying around, big sausage fingers. You know what I mean. Be careful. So if you're anything like me, you might want to remove your hands beforehand. That's probably the safest option, but they sell also these kind of protectors. Which I think I had, but I couldn't find them. From the front all the way over the back to the front again is a whole concept to create symmetry. I'm trying to find reference points at seams and shoulder lines using my measuring tape and then copy these reference points to the other side. But as the shape was somewhat complex, it was a little bit difficult. So then I switched to this technique, folding the jumper in half vertically as precisely as possible. Really trying to line up the armpits, arms, corners of the neckline, because the sides have to be a mirror of each other as much as possible, and then pin the sides together a little, so just so it's not gonna move. Now I can place a lot of pins through my line, making sure they come out on the other side, which wasn't that easy because it was really thick. But when I flip it around, I just have to mark the pins with some chalk and pray, sausage fingers crossed, it's symmetrical. So if you've been on my channel before, you might know that I don't really mind a sort of unfinished look. But today I will prove you that it doesn't always have to be that way. I have a different side in me as well, which is that we'll tuck them in to make it look a little more finished. Because the only thing that I have realized that's not so cute about leaving serger threads hanging on, that they very slowly unravel and get longer and longer and longer, these threads. Until one day you're on the wanna go to the toilet and you're like, oh, holy shit. Just stop there. Cut that out. It's just really unpractical. So use a needle with quite a big hole. What I find easiest is to stick it already in the loops of the serger seam. Then crop the loose ends and use a lighter to melt the ends together a little bit. I think that makes it a little easier if you meld it a bit to get it through the needle. Thread the needle with 4 threads and then pull the needle through. Neat and tidy and guaranteed to last longer than the average marriage. I've been thinking long and hard about this, but I feel like we should maybe make a ladder. 2 ladders. How often do you have this open on a knitwear? Now that we have the easy opportunity to make a ladder, why not go for it? I mean, okay, I caved. It wouldn't really be me if I would not take this fantastic opportunity for some tasteful unraveling, distressing laddering. It's gonna give another sort of extra texture, detail to the jumper, and this jumper is all about the details, as you've already seen. And to be honest, I thought this was gonna be really quick and easy. Turns out, easy it was, quick not at all. Really had to go in to unravel it loop by loop.
Yes!
It technically might make your jumper a little bit wider. So I guess if you knocked yourself out a little too hard on the decorative seams and got just a little too petite, this might be a way to partly reverse it again. I mean, all it entails really is to stick that thing in. And sticking it in just right besides the loop and then drag that thread up so that the loops drop down. And it's looking kind of cute, I will say. How often do you have like a raglan sleeve? So we can also just add one on the front to also accentuate the arms, or long, gorgeous arms a little bit more. I don't know, why not? We're in home office.
So I kinda messed up my collar with the testing, which was very necessary, so I can't really sew that back. An option would be to just go around the edge with the serger. However, it's not gonna create the look I want. Actually, I did like to have some of the rough ends still sticking out. In the end, I decided to do it with a hand stitch, trying to catch every loop along the way so that I don't get any like lettering. Okay, I think my ring light officially broke. Everything is breaking down. I'm gonna add one seam in the middle to get a little bit of width out of the middle front so that the neckline gets a little bit smaller. I feel like now everything is a little bit wide because we don't have any finishing here. This was a very last minute spontaneous idea that I literally had on the day that I wanted to post the video. Maybe the distressing did actually make it wider, or it was already so wide, I don't know. I'm just gonna get a little bit, actually quite a lot out. Normally probably better to get something out of the back as well, but I had some needlefelting there, so didn't want to loosen that again. It was a bit of a rush job, and inside I would put the seam inside out anyway. You're gonna see it quite well anyway.
I recommend it. I add 2 of the letters on both sides of the seam on the sleeve. I feel like that makes the seam pop out even a little bit more. Finally, for one time, the project wasn't a huge chaos, but then everything around it kind of was. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. I hope you learned something new. I hope you thought these hacks were helpful for your life, I guess, for your creative life, enrichment, inspiration. Let me know below if you're gonna try one of those things, or if you already tried them before. Or comment something else for the algorithm, like needles. Thanks so much for watching. Thank you to my Patreons for supporting the channel. Please subscribe if you didn't do that yet. Always have great ideas. Watch the link videos next, and see you in the next video. 2 minutes. 2 minutes I had it on, and there's already coffee stand. I'm like, I don't even get it. I didn't even drink coffee. How did I do this? Been looking for the pedal of the serger for a week. Finally managed to find it. Oh, my life sucks.